Welcome to the episode of Sitting Courtside. My gain is through the roof. Holy smokes, it screamed in my ear. Today is it's Thursday or Friday. I don't know what day of the week it is, but it's not Wednesday. Recording this early on a Tuesday night. We got to get all of our hot takes in from a wild, and I mean wild, feast week. Holy smokes. And I'm calling it right now. Somehow me and Kyle will come to the same conclusions with zero prep.
Yeah.
I'm already prepared for it. I hope you're prepared for it. Without further ado, let's start the show. Take it away, Kyle.
All right. Like Jordan mentioned, an absolutely wild feast week. And we normally don't do this where we just recap, but we thought it was since it was such a crazy week and a lot of you guys had so much to do. You were at your holiday Thanksgiving stuff, you had football going on, you had shopping on. So we thought instead of going into the games and giving you our picks, you're already checking our Twitter for that. So let's go ahead and just recap a crazy feast week because I couldn't even catch up with all the games. Like it was impossible to go from the beginning of the day through the. It's like 3 a.m. Some of those Maui games didn't end too. So
Yes. Yes. Let's
all right,
go. What do you got?
all
First
right.
take.
I think we really have to start. I don't know where else you could start, but with UConn in
Okay.
Maui. How big of a disaster was that for UConn?
Holy smokes, dude. Holy. Not only did you lose all three games, you got walloped.
Yep,
We could not have been more wrong.
it couldn't have been.
I'm not upset about it though. I text you. I said, well, guess I don't have the excuse anymore having to be on UConn because they're back-to-back champs. The crazier thing though, okay, so they get back, Connecticut, have to do the whole thing. Hurley says they're not doing any more MTEs, not doing them, hates them. Does he know that the NCAA tournament is basically an MTE?
Yeah, does he
So you're
not
not
know
doing the
that?
tournament now, or is
Yeah.
he opting out? Two titles, that's all he wants. But my oh my, did that guy lose his brain?
Yeah, he certainly did. That first game, that was nuts against Memphis.
But yeah, they fell. We knew that they would struggle a little bit. They wouldn't be the same, but I did not anticipate not even close in games.
Oh.
Not even close.
And we both like Dayton, but getting blown out by Dayton, it's like, did the team give up on him at that point? Did they not care about the last place game? I mean, that's another loss on your record,
By
though.
19, that's correct.
Yeah.
And I mean, I guess I don't know if I text you or if I tweeted it. Like I did think I think I said on the show, Dayton is a good team. I just didn't think
Uh-huh.
that they were to the level of competition that was in that tournament. Prove me wrong, I guess. I don't know, but holy smokes.
Yeah.
Holy
All right.
smokes is all I have to say
And
about that.
we had to start with UConn, but I don't want to skip over this real quick. We had an absolute bonkers betting week, both me and you. Like it was a roller coaster. It wasn't all
Yes.
good, it wasn't all bad, but
Yes.
at the end of the day, at least for me, I went from 29, 36 and 2 to 62, 56 and 2. So overall, great feast week when you put in like the full week, but it was a roller coaster. Started off 8-1, had one day where I was like 4-8. Like it was just all over the place.
Yeah,
So
it was what I know my percentage overall went down, but partly that's just because the numbers had to go up. So like water had to reach its level.
mhm.
Um, I'm trying to find the tweet here that like just like sums up exactly how. So 4 days ago, what would that have been? Friday. So Friday, I put hashtag feast week has destroyed me. Dot
Yeah.
dot dot.
I knew that's
I
what you
love
said.
it. Like,
Yeah.
and then the very next day,
Yeah.
we collectively went 13-1. And the only
Uh,
loss we had was the very first game of the day. Creighton did not cover the 6 point spread against my Notre Dame
yeah.
after being up in double digits the whole game. Like it
Yeah.
was even the late ads, we were like,
Hmm.
let's just it was like
Keep
heat
rolling.
check. It was like heat
Uh,
check. We both did heat checks at the end of the night, both hit.
yeah.
Like it
Yeah.
was bonkers day.
Yeah. That the heat check and like that came right around the San Diego State game, and then what was it? The Houston game, or no, that was Houston San Diego State, and then it
Yes.
was Oregon versus
Oregon and Alabama.
Alabama. That was
Yeah.
when we
We
really knew we
just
were hot.
yeah. And what's crazy is I was like in such a bad hole after Friday that I don't know if people caught on to it, but you put your picks out about an hour after I put my picks out on Saturday, and I was like so fed up from Friday. I was just like, let's ride.
I
Just
saw the let's
I'll take all
ride.
his picks too,
Uh,
please. Like let's just go with it. And it hit. It was great.
yep.
I mean,
Yep.
it was a wild weekend of college basketball. Nothing else to say about that. I mean, I love it so much. I'm gonna just do a quick synopsis before we dive into other things too. If that so much is what we have to expect in March,
for sure.
I cannot wait.
The
Like, it's going
brackets
to
will
be
be
awesome.
crazy.
It's going to be awesome.
Yep. All right, we already talked about one team that really disappointed. I think we need to go to the other team that really disappointed, and I think a lot of our listeners tune in for this. And so let's go on to IU, who's absolutely
Oh,
ran out of the gym by Louisville and Gonzaga. They got a win against Providence, but Providence is nothing this year. They don't even crack the top 100 in Ken Palm. Louisville, Gonzaga, destroying IU. What's your take on the Hoosiers?
well, they stink. I said that to start the year when
Uh,
we did our preview show of like, I'm not going to trust Indiana until they prove to me that they can be trusted. And they did exactly what I knew they would do. They're
hmm
terrible. They're not good. If anything, I think they proved that Louisville might have themselves a coach.
Yeah, I agree.
They're extremely efficient on defense. So
Mhm.
good for them. One thing I will say, I'm mad at myself for the weekend when it comes to Indiana. I'm mad I didn't make the nuclear whale play that Gonzaga would beat the crap out of them. Most
Yeah.
obvious play ever.
I haven't laid like 9 points in a long time in a college basketball game, and that one when I saw it, immediately laid it. I was like, "There's
Yeah.
no doubt in my mind."
Oh, that's what I laid it, but I was more mad at
Uh-huh.
myself in the second half. I'm like, why did I not just like double the unit on? Like, it was such an easy double unit play.
Yep. And man, IU is just such an undisciplined team. They average 14 turnovers a game, and that includes like five cupcake games already. So like they're just a bad team, and they shoot 18
Yes.
threes a game, and they only make 33%. I don't
Yeah.
know what they're doing, but it's not going to work if they play like
So,
this the rest of the season.
so I had this very long discussion obviously over Thanksgiving with an IU family, my wife's
hmm
family. Their best five players cannot play together.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good
They
point.
don't know how to move without the ball in their hands. So you end up having one guy with the ball and the rest just staring at him. Like, can we do something? You have Ballo, who's the $1 million man, and I've come to learn that Dockage is not a big fan of Fat Boy,
He is not.
big fat center in the middle, as he calls him. And then Renew, who by all means is a decent player. Like, how do those two not do well when they're in together? I'll tell you how. They don't know what to do. They just
Yeah.
stand there like big bunch of dummies, and they're like, "Oh, I need the ball."
Yeah.
And then their shooting guard, 21, the transfer, can't think of his freaking name. Kid can't shoot.
Yeah.
They said he could shoot. He can't shoot. I know third graders in Indiana can shoot better than that. They're an altogether terrible team. After the game, when they lost to Louisville, but what should have been 50, but Louisville was nice, only being by 38. Woodson legitimately said, "I didn't think yelling at them would help any."
Jeez.
What do
Yeah.
you mean yelling at them
Yeah.
would help? And
And
then I don't know if people like to follow the tweeter. We got old Galloway, which credit to him, he puts in the effort at least. You get
out there partying.
you get the break speed off you by Louisville, and then get caught at like 3 a.m. at the casino gambling. Like,
Uh-huh.
no discipline on that team. I have no hopes for them. They could finish dead last in the Big Ten, and I will not be surprised.
And I really hate the excuse I keep seeing, or what at least Woodson's been given the last few years, is he runs a pro style offense, just hasn't got the talent. It's like it's just a lazy offense, is what it is. It's not
100%.
it's not pro style. It's just lazy.
Not to be that guy for a college basketball podcast, but when they lost like that to Louisville, to me, that was like just a hair less than what Ryan Day did in college football this weekend.
Yeah, yeah,
Like, to me, it was like the second that happened, I was like, he should be fired tomorrow morning.
yeah,
You
yeah.
can't lose to Louisville with a first-year head coach and a thrown together freaking crew of players that you easily could have also gotten.
Yeah, it
It's
was
despicable.
it was a run of just absolutely terrible coaching with Eberflus on Thanksgiving. You had Woodson with IU, and then you had Day on Saturday.
That's honestly what part made it bonkers, was just like coaches like forgot they're the coach on
Uh-huh.
multiple fronts across the
Yep.
board.
All right, let's move to a positive for one of these teams. And I don't think any of us thought that they were going to win the battle for Atlantis, but Oklahoma, absolutely impressive showing there, taking down Arizona, Providence, Louisville. And I think, again, we were talking about coaching. This is just another example of how good of a coach Porter Moser is. Just absolutely great coach. Get
Yes.
this team that's not been together very long, beating three pretty quality teams.
So I actually, this was the very first time I looked at after everything was said and done. I don't know what to think of them still. They haven't lost. They're winning
Mhm.
games. If you go look at their metrics, though, they might be one of the most flawed teams in the country that hasn't lost yet. They are
Okay.
not good at anything, but they're not terrible either.
Mhm.
They're a little bit fluky right now. However, I say that I don't have my notes in front of me. I looked at their schedule. They don't play an actual opponent I think they can lose to until January. They very
Okay.
easily could,
Oh
I think,
yeah.
be 12-0. I think they play Houston on January like 12th. And if I got that right somehow, credit to
It's,
me.
it's Alabama on January 4th is who they
Okay,
play.
close enough. Doesn't
Yeah.
matter. Houston, Alabama, whatever.
Essentially the same.
Essentially, they both wear red. Anyway, but again, like a whole month, they can be 11, 12-0
Yeah.
going against Alabama. Like bonkers with that team. But again, to your credit, for what you said, like Porter Moser, great coaching. I don't believe in Oklahoma. I don't think anybody should like go
Yeah.
out there and put futures on them or anything. But credit to them for showing up early.
And this, I just now had hit me. I didn't like put it together. It was last year. Oklahoma started 10-0, 13-1, and then ended up going 20-12 for the season and not
That
making
checks
the
out.
tournament. So,
And they had their best player transfer to was it
uh,
Kansas or Houston?
uh,
Houston, I think.
Houston. Yep.
Speak of the devil.
While we're on the battle for Atlantis, I had this way down my list, but I think we should just talk about it now. What do you make of Arizona? On a
Oh
scale
my
of
God.
on a scale of 1 to 10, or maybe even some might even say a worryometer, where would you put Arizona? They're 3-4. All their losses are against top 50 teams in the Ken Palm, but they're playing in the Big 12 now, where it's not easy games against Pac-12 teams that you can really
Okay.
move your record up. So, what do you think? What's
Okay.
your level?
Overall, if you guys can't tell, my board won't stay up there right now because the magnets. Overall, for just college basketball, I'm a 4 right now. I'm a little
Okay.
worried overall.
Okay, I like it.
Arizona, though, Arizona,
Yeah.
this is based purely on expectation.
Yeah.
Going the 9.
Nine. Nine.
Going the
Okay.
9. I'm very worried about
Yeah.
Arizona. I don't know if they're making the tournament.
Okay.
I legitimately
Okay.
don't know if they're going to make the tournament playing in the Big 12 this year.
Yep. Yep. I have it just right below you at an 8. I put it at
Okay,
an
fair
8.
enough.
And it's because I was not worried about them with their 3 and 4 start necessarily. But then again, looking into the schedule, brutal schedule, and they're just not efficient on offense like they have been. They've been top
Yes.
15 each of the last 4 years. They're 27th right now, and that's against like yes, quality opponents, but it's only going to get harder in conference. So that worries me a bit that they're only shooting 33% from three, and this is a team that needs to score 80 points a game if the way Arizona plays.
Yeah, no, we talked about last year. They're the Dallas Mavericks of like 2009.
Yeah.
They have to score and they have to score in bunches. Otherwise, they're in trouble because they're not good at defense.
Yep.
One thing I can at least say for Alabama is they play some defense.
Yeah.
They're a team that's similar. Arizona plays no defense.
Yeah.
Their defense is not a word there.
All right. So this players era tournament, I don't know what you thought about it, but I thought it was absolutely amazing. I thought it was the best thing ever.
Okay, I've decided this after we texted about it. We need to just start figuring out who's playing in Las Vegas around
Yeah.
Thanksgiving and just buy tickets because the port side view we could give of a live podcast while being one of 37 people in the stands. Like you literally could have convinced me that was like a matinee for a movie.
Yeah.
And you even said it. You're like, you get more attention for a matinee on Tuesday. Like the seats though gave off that vibe. It was like
It really did.
the furry looking green chairs. And it's like no one's there for Oregon, Alabama, for anyone that stayed up too late to watch it. But
yeah. Yeah. Anywhere, any other venue you're going to watch that any other time in the season, you're paying hundreds and hundreds of bucks. This one, you could have picked your seat and paid like $10 basically.
Do you think they even paid for security? They just were like, come on in, guys.
Yeah,
you got nobody here.
Asking people to come in. But yeah, I mean, Oregon, I thought they were good. I had no idea they were this legit. Very impressed by Oregon. Besides for Oregon, who were you most impressed by in the Arizona tournament?
That's a good question. You're going to have to refresh my brain. Did San Diego State play in that tournament?
Yep,
I'm going to say San Diego State.
Yep.
I'm thinking San Diego State. And I'm actually thinking San Diego State, and I'm going to go to something I want to talk about.
Okay.
They're top 50.
Mm-hmm.
However, if you go to Ken Palm and look at their adjusted, they're the third best team in the country.
Okay.
If you go through like their adjusted, they had the third toughest schedule. They've had the third most efficient offense and the third most efficient defense. Like as you go and adjust off of schedule, strength of schedule, they're 4-2. They've lost to Gonzaga and Oregon. They are amazing. And I say they're a top 3 team in the country. They're playing like a top 3 team, but I think they're still trying to figure out what they're doing on offense. Bird was amazing in that final game. We talked about him. They're going to be electric. And I texted you, but I have to say it on the pod. There is no uniform tougher in college
Yeah.
basketball than San Diego State when they're good and they wear the All
Oh,
Blacks.
yeah,
It's
that
just,
is.
it's so good.
Yep, 100%. And I'll go the opposite here on the team that disappointed me the most, and it's because I've been high on them. And if you include the game before the player era tournament, Creighton, their
Oh
only
my
win
God.
since our last podcast is against Notre Dame. They lost by double digits to Nebraska, to San Diego State by 18, to Texas A&M, who the hell can figure out Texas A&M? But Creighton looking absolutely terrible, and no big deal. They just have to play Kansas on Wednesday. I'm
Yeah.
sure that'll go well.
Yeah. Yeah. They're going to get smoked. Also, A&M, I figured it out. Don't worry. I got you guys covered. It's every other one.
Okay,
So they
okay.
just covered their last game. Make sure they're not going to cover their next one. They'll probably lose outright too. So just sprinkle money line. I don't even know who they're playing tonight, actually, or as we speak. So too late for you. So next game you guys do, you need to make sure you make sure they cover because they
And
will.
that's against Texas Tech, so that'll be an interesting
Yeah.
one to
Who they been
see.
playing tonight? They're playing somebody
Wake
stupid.
Forest.
They're
Wake
Okay,
Forest.
yeah, they
Yeah.
definitely aren't covering against Wake Forest, and they
Yeah.
probably will lose outright.
All right. Did you have anything huge you wanted to hit on, or I have a few quick hitters? So where did
So
you want to
you
go?
hit Oregon really quickly. I need to get this off my chest too. So me and you talked. I had Oregon, I thought, easily in the top five. Like in my brain, they're a top five team. And then another content guy, shout out, it's like TP3 bracketology or something.
Mhm.
Don't worry, you guys should see him in the tweeter if you go to any of my stuff. I talked to him over the weekend. He wasn't big on Oregon. He said they didn't have any big wins. And then Fanta, who, if you don't know who Fanta is, I don't know how you're listening to this show. Uh, he only had Oregon as 8. And
Wow.
I don't get it. Like they just ran train in what probably is the toughest tournament that was going on. Like I would have expected better. And then the other one was Florida. I don't feel like Florida's getting any credit for
Yep.
just wiping the floor with the competition.
Yep. Yep. I had one of my big things was Florida. We brought them up the last podcast. They beat Wake Forest and Wichita by double digits,
Yeah,
17 and 27. They look great every time we see them. And that schedule, while we're still not there yet, it's about to get hard. So I can't wait to see them against
yeah,
good
it's
teams.
gonna be great. But yeah, go ahead. What do you got for big hitters?
All right. So this is, let me see, make sure as we're recording that they're not losing right now. I'd really hate that because that would make this pretty useless. But a team that
Here's
I never believe in ever in college basketball is Michigan.
oh,
They're
okay.
6-1 right now. Their only loss is to Wake by 2. They crushed our Xavier team. They crushed Virginia Tech over Feast Week, and now they are top 25 in Ken Palm. What do you think about them? Do you think they're actually good? Is this kind of like misleading? What do you think of Michigan?
Don't like them. Don't trust them. Never gonna trust them. They play on the cock tonight at 9 o'clock, which doesn't matter to anybody because they're not gonna see
Yeah.
this until it's over with. They play Wisconsin though on the road. Um, I'll do TBD, to be
Okay.
decided with Michigan. I honestly, we've talked about this many times. It's not their fault, I guess, but after the Hunter Dickinson year, where I thought they're gonna be awesome and they stunk, like I just
Uh,
can't.
yeah. So I think
Whenever Hunter Dickinson goes, I just hate at this
yeah.
point. He might be my arch enemy for life.
So I think this might be the biggest like bet against them moving forward because they're shooting 40% from three right now, 50% from the field, and they've only played one game not at home, and it was a neutral
Yeah,
site game.
yeah.
So I am not buying them at all
No,
moving into the
they got a
conference.
new coach this year, right? First year they
Hmm.
coach. Yeah, I
Yep.
don't trust them.
Yep. All right. I know, I have a feeling I know where you're going to go with this one, but
Can't
I'm going to
wait.
ask it anyway. Do you buy Illinois or sell Arkansas more? Illinois beat Arkansas 90-77 in a pretty convincing win.
So on that note, I'm gonna give you two comments and then I'll answer your question.
Okay.
Calipari hasn't learned how to do anything different. Classic Calipari. And I'm already feeling like I've won my Illinois bet.
Yeah,
They look like the most promising team for the Big Ten.
I did.
But which one am I buying or selling more? I'm absolutely selling Arkansas. They're
Okay.
terrible. The SEC is an absolute juggernaut. They probably have 4 of the top 7 teams in the country. They're going to be lucky to get 18 wins this year.
Yeah, and they have 5 wins right now, none of them against the top 110 team. And the Ken Palm, he better get as many of these wins before conference play
Yeah,
as he can because
he's
this
not
is going
getting.
to be,
It's
yeah.
going to be terrible. It's going to be.
Yeah.
I'm sorry for everyone that bet Arkansas. I really thought they had a chance with all those returning stars from Kentucky going to Arkansas and then getting some
Yeah.
transfers, but yikes. I will say though, I guess one glimmer of hope. There was late in the game against Illinois with about 7 minutes to go. They made a run there for about 3 minutes where they played like I think they can play. They were down about like 27, I think, to Illinois, cut it down to about
Yeah.
16 and then kind of faded again. But they
Yep.
looked really good for those 4 minutes.
Yeah.
They can turn that into
Four
a full
minutes.
game.
Yeah. Just need to times that by 10. They'll be
Yeah,
good by that
they'll
point.
figure it out.
The only other real big thing I had here was Purdue. I kind of bashed them
Oh,
all last podcast. North Carolina State, Ole Miss. Ole Miss actually a pretty good team. I watched them play a whole game against BYU, who I thought BYU outplayed them most of the game, but Ole Miss came
hmm
back late. Purdue, they're still a good team. They're not great, but they're going to give anyone they play a run, especially in a weak Big Ten. So
yeah.
I'm back in a little bit more on Purdue. What were your thoughts there?
I'm still skeptical. Like I watched them play Ole Miss. Shout out Chris Beard, the woman beater. That's what he did.
Yeah, yeah,
Allegedly. Sorry. Allegedly. He is a good basketball coach,
yeah.
though.
Hell of a
He is a good
coach.
basketball coach.
Bad
And he
person.
does go to Ole Miss, which like literally is it's called Ole Miss for a reason. Um, anyway, off topic. I just don't know if I trust them. Like they still rely way too heavily on Smith to like carry the load. And he's not designed for that. Like he literally went scoreless was it 3 games ago? And like if he's not doing something to either create the shot for somebody or scoring the points, they just look anemic. They did get a little bit lucky. I say lucky. Lawyer, I guess, came into his own a little bit against Ole Miss, shot the ball pretty well. Um, but I don't know if I can trust them yet. Like I say trust them yet. Like I do think they're a Sweet 16 team. Like don't get me wrong. I just don't know if I can expect them to be a top 5 team in the country.
Yeah, yeah. I'm definitely not top five. I just think I would probably pick them honestly to win the Big Ten right now. I don't know if that's a hot take or not right now because IU
Yeah,
is nothing. So
I think that's fair until them in Illinois play. I feel like that's fair. I don't think
Mhm.
anyone else stands a chance. Maybe Wisconsin or Michigan State will do some weird crap and like be in it at the end, but overall, they could prove us wrong in this year, right? They have everything you need. They have all American point guard. He's been there before. He's upper classman. Like that's what you generally need. I just don't know if they're gonna have enough to carry them through a long tournament in April after going through what, yes, is a weaker Big Ten, but I still think is a very physical Big Ten.
Just while we're on the topic of Big Ten, Rutgers, I'm not completely out on them yet. They played in that player area tournament. They lost both their games to Alabama and A&M. They beat Notre Dame in the first game, but they played really well against Alabama and A&M. Just lost at the end of the game. These freshmen still very young. The whole
Yeah.
team runs through them now. Like so, it is definitely
Yes.
going to need them to grow up quick. But I'm not bailing on them even with their 5-3 record right now.
Yeah. I don't think you bail, but I do think they're not what they were primed to be. And we talked about
Yeah.
that. We're like, okay,
Mhm.
everyone's acting like they're going to be this amazing top 25, maybe top 15 team. I think they are more appropriately placed somewhere in that 31 to 40 range. That's probably where we're going to sit the rest of the year. And then we'll see what happens again. They could be a team that gets that weird 11 seed and makes a little bit of a run because they do have the talent and those players, those freshmen are good. It's just,
Yeah.
it is early. They did have a pretty tough schedule against pretty tenured teams, but we'll see what happens. I will revisit how I feel about Rutgers on February 17th. That's put that in the calendar.
Yeah. Okay, so I didn't know if we'd have time for this one, but it seems like we do. I have to
Always.
ask you, what did you think of Kansas versus Duke? Kansas winning 75-72.
Yeah, I don't know who the other team is, but Duke's Duke. Um,
You got to
I
go all the way back to Tuesday for this one.
I know. I'm trying to think of how I want to phrase this because I do know what I want to say. Like Shire is going to have to learn to like get his inner Coach K because I'm not sure old number one pick is going to carry the team for you. He's good. I don't know if he's Zion good though. Like the Zion year, like he's going to have to figure out something. Yes, they'll figure it out in what I actually don't think is a good ACC, but I feel like a lot of people were on top of them, like, oh, they're going to win the national title. They've not looked like a national title team to me.
Yeah, and
And the other team you mentioned, I don't know who that is, but they stink. I don't care who
but
they are.
just
They got
still sitting
some
up
big,
top.
fat,
Yeah.
ugly center. They need to play the athletic kid from Indiana more who can jump out of the gym.
It's really going rough for them right now, just 8-0. But yeah, I'll just chime in real quick on Duke. My biggest issue right now is with Shire. He's been bad coaching at the end of games since he became a
Mhm.
head coach. I just figured
Absolutely.
he would learn it at some point. He hasn't, and he's basically ran the same play at the end of games like not the last possession, but like the last like big possession before you're down three and need a three. It's always ISO for flag, and his best move, and everybody knows it in the nation, is he's going to drive left, turn back right, spin move into the lane, and everyone's double teaming him. And
Yes.
if he's not going to figure out, then the $1 million coach needs to figure that out and stop running the same thing.
He
So that's my biggest issue right now with them.
his biggest flaw, and I think this is something that has become a lost art, Cooper Flag.
Mhm.
He needs to learn how to shoot like a 14-footer
Yeah, that would be
because
nice.
those guys are over hedging so hard to the
Yep.
right. Go left, pull
Mhm.
up from 14 feet. You're 6'10. No one's blocking that
Yep.
shot.
He just
No one's
has,
blocking that shot. And guess what? It's worth 2 points, just like a slam dunk. So
yeah.
who cares?
Yeah, and it's like he just hasn't had to do that because he's never played these 6'10" guys. So it's like, oh, now he's playing guys his size and they're much bigger than him, like
Yeah. So I'm
physicality
saying he
wise.
needs to
So
he needs to realize that he is an athletic guard at 6'10 that can shoot the ball well. Take advantage of that. Like, I don't know, watch Kevin Durant. That might help you out because Kevin Durant has an appropriate game for what Cooper Flag should try to do.
mhm.
And it's really weird because I watched him in the under 20 games with the USA.
Yeah.
He could shoot the ball really well.
Hmm.
It's like he just got to college and forgot that like he can shoot the ball really well because he does like I said, he does not pull up very often.
Yeah.
It's like all at the rim, all trying to just be the biggest guy there. It's like you're gonna lose that a lot in college basketball.
And he won't play against many people like KJ Adams that is 6'7" in his fifth year and
Yeah,
235 pounds that is just as athletic as he is. So, but yeah, he's got a lot of learning to do. He's unselfish to a fault. Like he needs to be more selfish. He needs to stop just giving it up every time he drives.
yeah,
If so, lots to learn. But again, weak ACC and still a long season, so I'm not worried about him. I just wanted to get your thoughts on that
yeah.
game.
Shire is an interesting case too, though. Like, I actually think he's the perfect coach for Duke, but at the same time, like, if he doesn't figure it out, he's gonna start getting some Ryan Day comparisons.
Late
Like,
game, late game is the easiest way to piss everybody off that's
yeah,
on your fan base. So,
yeah. Of course it is. Of
yeah.
course.
All right, did you have anything else you wanted to touch on from Feast Week?
Golly, how many things can we touch on
I
Feast
know.
Week?
Oh,
I mean, we
actually, I got one. I got one.
okay.
All right, so I know Auburn won the Maui,
Yeah.
but did they impress you the most? Did Dayton impress you with only going 1-2? But they did battle really hard with Iowa State and UConn or and UNC and beating UConn. Or did Iowa State, despite only going 2-1, scoring 90 points per game, impress you the most? What out of those three impressed you the most?
What impressed me the most was Iowa State scoring 90 points. However, for anyone that follows the tweeter, I am back on the Pearl boat.
Yeah.
I'm back on the Pearl boat. Took one game for me to be like, you know what? I've been fighting this way too long. Yes, you did spite me last year when I had you all the way to the Final Four. Back on the Pearl boat. They're amazing. I love Auburn. They're definitely the best team in the country. They're going to probably lose now because we also have the courtside curse.
Well, you know who
Uh,
they play tomorrow, probably while everyone's listening to this. The team we just ended up bashing for a little bit.
I know, I know. And they'll lose to them. And they will
Yeah.
lose to them. That's exactly how it's go. But no, Iowa State though, they're surprising because I mean everyone thinks defense, defense, defense. But yeah, they can run. I actually like what they're doing here. I know early in the season I said they were kind of like the surprise as far as like getting a high ranking early. I think everything they did supports them being there though. They just got to make sure again, got to beat that team I won't talk about. They got to beat Houston. They got to show up in some of these games. They got to get out of the Big 12 relatively unscathed, and unscathed also means like injury free. And that's going to be tough to do in a very competitive conference with them. And they've had some bad luck in the past.
Yeah, I'm pretty much all in on them. I loved what I saw. They're top four in offensive rating on KenPom, which is just amazing that only what is it? Gonzaga, Auburn, and Alabama are
Yeah,
better on
that's it.
offense than them.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
that's pretty
I
wild.
I have a question for you now.
Okay.
Do you trust Barnes in Tennessee?
Oh man, they are killing everyone they play right now.
They're
I
by the
think,
way, they're killing Syracuse as we speak. I just
yeah.
checked the score.
They've won every game. They've been up by 26 in every single game they've played so far this season. I don't trust them come March because they always struggle to score when it gets like when it gets to the big moments. So I'm not in on them yet. I'd rather go with Auburn, rather go with Iowa State, rather go with a couple of the other top five teams, but they're damn good right now.
That's fair. I did watch them for a lot of their game against Louisville, and this is before I thought Louisville was good. So that's a little bit where my I think recency bias is, where I'm like, if you struggle against Louisville, wow. However, again, like I mentioned, Louisville does apparently have a good defense.
Hmm.
But they rely heavily on their point guard Lawson, who's back for like his 11th year.
Yeah, I just have to say, how old is he now?
And then they got the junior guard, number 24. He's their leading scorer. I can't think of his name off the top of my head. But they rely on those two a lot. And like I said, they struggled a little bit against Louisville to start and then kind of got on some runs. If they play a legitimate, like top 10 defense, I'm not sure how they're going to perform. So just something I was curious about with them as well. And then the other question I have for you, the Mountain West, our
Yeah.
Mountain West.
Okay.
I have no clue what to think anymore about that conference.
It is all over the place. I mean, it would be hard not to say San Diego State's now my favorite just with what I saw, even though they lost two games
Yeah, well, I
overseas.
mean,
So,
Utah State, they're on a
yeah.
run right now. I
Hmm.
think they're what are they, 8-0,
They're,
nine
yeah,
and 1?
7-0.
There you go. They do really well. Still got Boise out there who they didn't do super well, but neither here nor there.
Yeah, everyone.
Mountain West is panning out to be exactly what it always is.
It always is going to be some fun late night games on teams that are squarely on the bubbles.
Yes. Fun fact has nothing to do with college basketball, but just to do with sports. Talking with some guys at work on Monday, and they were reminiscing about Pac-12 After Dark, which
Yeah.
obviously is no more. I was like, oh yeah, I used to love it back in the day. You get Pac-12 After Dark, and then you do the midnight snack and the whack. And they were like, the what? I go, the midnight snack and the whack. You never knew that? They're like, I have never heard that in my entire life. I was
That's
like,
great.
you missed out, buddy.
Yeah, you certainly
Back
missed
in the
out.
day when you'd have Boise, Hawaii at 2 a.m.
Uh,
and we got Johnny Wang just slinging 6 touchdowns.
you're
Needless to
chasing all the
say,
bets.
needless to say, all day Monday, it turned into have you heard about Midnight Snack and the Whack, which
That's
didn't go over too well with HR when they weren't very sports savvy. They're like, what the hell are you guys
yeah.
talking about?
We need to
It's a
figure out
sports
a new
conference.
way.
Don't worry about it. But
Yeah.
yeah. Shout out Midnight Snack and the Whack,
Oh
which
man.
doesn't exist anymore because the Mountain West took like all the Whack teams. But
Yeah, they certainly did.
we need to come up with a good name for like Midnight Munchies in the Mac or not. That's
The
actually
Mac,
that's a
yeah.
good one too. But midnight midnight munchies in the mountains. I don't know. We gotta figure out something.
Yeah, we got to think on that
Mountain
one.
West though seriously did take like all of the whack teams from like 2009.
Yep. Oh man. Well, it was an amazing feast week, guys. I hope you all enjoyed it. Hopefully you were checking out our Twitter because we finally got rolling, or I finally got rolling. Jordan continued to roll. We have a great week of college basketball, as you know, as you're listening to this. You probably have already started watching the intra-conference battles along with the Big Ten starting up. So best of luck. Make sure you check out our Twitter. I'm at Kyle Cliffy. He's at Mingo Made One. We'll have tons of picks every night. We tweet them out, try to get them out well before the first games. Best of luck, and we'll talk to you next week.
Love you guys.